Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Retro Lunch Break's second annual Halloween Spooktacular. I'm your host, Nick, and today I'm going to be playing Super Castlevania 4, which is a remake of Castlevania 1 for the Super Nintendo. Well, reimagining, not really a remake. It wouldn't be Halloween time or October for me without playing a Castlevania game, so we're going to jump right in. I really do enjoy this game. Let's just call myself A for today. It was so cool when this came out because of this. Look, I can whip action. No, just because Castlevania is such an amazing game franchise, in my opinion. It's one of those ones I really enjoy, and up until recent times I've always looked forward to their releases. But this was so cool because it was familiar at times, but yet so much different than what you were used to. Let me out. Help. Alright, let's get right into this. If you watched the last episode, I said I was going to make a list of my top 10 horror movies of all time, my favorites, and I've actually done that, so we're gonna jump into that too while we go through this. This game is great though. Look at this. I have to go back here. So I'm a big fan of horror movies. Mainly I like the 80s slasher genre, so my list will be very 80s slasher heavy, and my second favorite would have to be the Universal Monster era. So you'll see a lot of those titles here, and I'll talk a little about them and why I enjoy them. So let's get right into it with number 10. This is a movie that surprisingly came out in 1980, and I didn't watch until this year for the first time. It's Maniac, and it is about a guy who lives in New York who has mother issues, and he goes around murdering women and then scalping them and taking their clothes and putting it on mannequins and pretending that they live with him. It is a insanely creepy movie in how good the acting is for just the main character, because it's just so uncomfortable. He makes you feel like he is really crazy, and he's just so sweaty, and he breathes so heavy in the film. It's amazing. It's one of those surprise movies that when I watched it, I was like, let's see what this is about. 1980, set in New York before New York cleaned itself up, and it is something worth watching if you like slasher movies, I guess. It's kind of a slasher movie. It's one of the earlier 80s slasher movies, but without the main like killer, like a Jason or a Freddy, which we'll get to in a minute here. Dang, I was not paying attention. Look at my life. That's what happens when I talk about horror movies. And number 9 is Halloween. Everyone loves Halloween. Halloween's just one of those classic films. 1978, I believe it came out. It was one of the first of the real slasher films, and it kind of set a precedent for what was to come for the next upcoming decade. Everyone likes Michael Myers. I do want to say that I am one of those people who does enjoy, as bad as it is, watching Halloween 3 Season of the Witch every year. It's just one of those guilty pleasures. It's a fun movie. It's not very good, but it's very fun, and the Silver Shamrock song is awesome. I also really do enjoy Halloween 4. It didn't make my list because I feel Halloween is better, but the Return of Michael Myers, and actually Halloween 5 too, Revenge of Michael Myers, are also really good films for the series, for the franchise. Oh no, he jumped into me. At number 8, Dracula, and we're talking Bela Lugosi Universal Monsters Dracula. I don't feel there was a better Dracula than Bela Lugosi. I know that, I watch a lot of vampire and movies and Dracula movies because of my love for this movie. It's not perfect, but it was just great, especially when I was a child. It was one of those movies that just really, I thought was amazing. Do these follow me? Yeah, they do. Every time. And I died. Look at that. I think that's the first time I've died on the first level in... I don't even know how many years. That's what I get for talking, but I like talking about horror movies. So, that brings us to number 7, and this is just one of those amazingly funny horror movies that was supposed to be scary, but it is kind of scary if you're afraid of clowns. It is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It is just one of those incredibly enjoyable movies that horse heads. Sorry, I have to focus on the horse heads here because they kind of blend in there and I forgot about them. Even this one. Really? Really, horse head? Dang. I'm gonna die on a horse head. I'm not gonna die. Yeah, it's about clowns from outer space who come down who drink the blood of humans, but they have these guns where they wrap them in cotton candy, and it is just amazing because of just some of the scenes, how like they take clown things and they make it creepy, but it's not. It's just one of those ones you have to watch. It's kind of, I'm just gonna, just for fun. It's just a zany movie, and the practical effects and the costumes, oh, Medusa heads, are just great. I'm gonna die right here. Sorry for dying so much here, but hey. And I haven't even had a chance to talk about the amazing music in this game. There you go, I died. This game has some of the best Castlevania music, but find a Castlevania game with bad music is the real challenge, I guess I'll say. Coming in number 7 is Evil Dead. Just the whole franchise I enjoy. I picked the first one because it was before. Oof, that sucked. Can't believe I died there. I'm dying so much here. It's funny when you play these games by yourself and you can just breeze through them, but once you start trying to have a conversation with yourself, you forget what you're doing. What? That was all on me. What an idiot. But Evil Dead is great because it was still a horror movie. It was before the franchise, oh man. I cannot believe how bad I'm doing right here. Sorry, everybody. It was before the franchise really found itself and became that like horror comedy kind of feel to it. And I hate Medusa heads. They're my least favorite enemy in all of the Castlevania series. Yeah, so Evil Dead is great. Ash and his girlfriend and his friend and his sister all go into the woods to rent a cabin, and the cabin is possessed by an evil. And the beauty of the Evil Dead franchise is that you don't actually ever really see the main evil villain. It's just a shaky camera that chases them, and it's so well done. It's great. Good food. Oh, good. The first boss here. Okay, so I'm going to pause the list while I just handle this first guy here. Because I don't... Oh, yeah, that's right. And then he comes in. Sorry, just got to finish this off. Here he goes. There, that's what I was waiting for. Alright, yeah, so Evil Dead are great. Evil Dead 2 is amazing. Army of Darkness is fabulous. And if you get a chance, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, the TV show that they did for Starz that's on Netflix, is such a good time if you like the series, the Evil Dead series. Coming in at number 5 for me is Friday the 13th Part 4. This is the one with Tommy Jarvis and Crispin Glover's amazing dance. It is really good. It's a fun story. It's the first time we meet Tommy Jarvis. It has Jason in it. It has some of the... It has, I think... Yeah, it has probably tied for my favorite kill in the Friday the 13th series, which would be where the guy's walking through the house doing the handstands, and Jason comes and splits him down the middle upside down. It is awesome. And that's tied with from part 2. Friday the 13th Part 2, the guy in the wheelchair when he gets the machete in the head and then he rolls down the stairs and then down the more stairs, and it just keeps going. That one's just more ridiculous than anything else. But I do like the Friday the 13th series, even the weird ones like, was it Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan? Where it's Jason Takes Manhattan, but 3/4 of the movie takes place on a boat. Coming in at number 4 is a fairly recent horror movie. It's Terrifier. I talked about Terrifier in our horror podcast. I am a big fan of Art the Clown and Terrifier. I think it's just such a good throwback to what 80s horror movies really had the feel for. Just the deranged killer without always the most clear of purposes, and just really good. And it even has its lighthearted, funny moments. So I really do enjoy Terrifier. Terrifier 2 coming out eventually. I'm not sure when. Either this year, probably not this year. We're already in October, so probably next year because of everything that's going on, like most horror movies that I talked about. I think I talked about Terrifier also being delayed, so yeah. But it is good. If you like, I guess, slasher movies, horror movies that don't take themselves too serious but are serious enough to creep you out, Terrifier is definitely a movie you should watch. I will recommend that always. Number 3 comes in, and it's from my favorite of the 80s horror franchises. It is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Dream Warriors. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. It's my favorite of the 80s franchise slasher flicks. Freddy Krueger is just the best villain, and I know there's a lot of people, it's either Freddy or Jason or Michael Myers, but for me it's Freddy Krueger. And this one it's just a really well done movie. It has some great scenes. This is kind of where I feel he starts really getting his one-liners in and just becomes his character. Robert Englund becomes Freddy more than me dying. Wow. I'm gonna continue so we can keep this going. Yeah, and it's a good time. I believe it's also the first movie where I can't. No, I don't think that's right. Not even going to talk about that then. Coming in at number 2 is the next 2 movies are just favorites because of my childhood growing up watching these movies while I grew up. I started watching horror movies early with my cousins, renting them from the local video store, Movies and More. And these next 2 are pretty close in favorites, but they're both very weird, unique movies in their own. And number 2 is The Stuff. And The Stuff is it's like a mutant alien organism that comes to Earth and inserts itself into like this ice cream yogurt type thing. And the name of the brand is The Stuff, and people eat it, and then it multiplies inside of them and then kills them and then returns back to the factory to turn into more stuff. And it's one of those, I guess, melt movies where people, like they eat the stuff and then it comes out of their eyes and their nose and everywhere on their body, and they melt from the inside out. And there's a couple movies. There's like a movie called Street Trash, which is really, really gruesome, that falls into the same kind of category as this. So, but I really do enjoy The Stuff. To me, it's a really fun horror movie. I mean, it's not too scary, but it's kind of like The Blob, we'll say, but it's like a more modern version of The Blob. Speaking of which, the remake of The Blob from '88, I also really do enjoy. Honorable mention to that. I have a couple movies at the end here I just want to talk about. Just honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, but if you have a chance, you should go watch them. And coming in at number 1, I believe I've talked about this before, but if I haven't, it is Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp is my favorite horror movie of all time. Just the whole setting, watching it as a kid, watching most of the actors in it were kids at a summer camp, and you don't really meet the killer until the reveal at the end, and it's just this really weird, strange, like you're kind of confused for a second, but then it completely makes sense, and it's one of those movies that gets you and you're like, I was not expecting it to go there. But Sleepaway Camp is a great movie, has some great dialogue that just feels real, and it's just a interesting story to me, and that's why it will always be number one. And yeah, I know Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, and oh no, I'm gonna die because of a frog. Of all things in this game, the frogs are so brutal. Yeah, Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 are fun movies, but it doesn't have the same feel as the original because it's a different director, I believe a different writer even, for 2 and 3, and it just becomes more of the, we'll say, cliche 80s horror movie, like the, hey, let's capitalize off of a title that did alright. So that's my top 10 list of horror movies. There's a couple movies that didn't quite make the list that if you have the time, you should check them out. One of them is Return of the Living Dead. It's one of the few zombie movies that will make my list, or that I actually really do enjoy. It's a bunch of kids in a graveyard, and I guess there's a zombie. Not a guess. I mean, there's a zombie. Oh, that's how I do it. See? That's why you have that flailing whip, so you can just do things like this. Come here. I'm not even gonna bother. And so inside at the cemetery, they decide to burn the body of an infected zombie, and it turns into a gas in the air, and then anyone who breathes the gas turns into zombies, and then it just gets crazy. I just really enjoy that movie for zombie movies. The Devil's Backbone is another movie that almost made the list, which I think is phenomenal. It's an early Guillermo del Toro film, and it is creepy. It's about two kids who live in an orphanage, and one dies, and he dies inside of a well in the bottom of the orphanage because they're out one night when they should be in bed, and one falls in and he can't save him, and then he comes back and he haunts him. And it is just a really creepy movie, really well done. The atmosphere in that movie is great. And if you're into foreign films, especially foreign horror films, that one is my top favorite for that. Oh no, Medusa! I'm gonna hit you. Oh my god, Medusa. Oh my god. I died on Medusa. We'll get her. Okay. And then I want to talk about The Bride of Frankenstein. Another Universal, any of the Universal horror movies, in my opinion, are a great watch, but The Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula, I think, are my two favorite, followed by probably The Creature from the Black Lagoon. So The Bride of Frankenstein is a unique movie, and to me, at least, in the fact that it starts off with Mary Shelley, an actress obviously playing Mary Shelley, talking about how Frankenstein didn't end. The movie Frankenstein didn't end, and this is like the sequel to it. Oh, I should get that. That might be helpful on Medusa. Let's whip some frogs. Yeah. So those are my favorite horror movies, and then just a couple extra that I think everyone should really watch if they're into the horror genre. I know a lot of people like different movies. There's so many great horror movies out there. You can't really go wrong. Well, you can if you're going to tell me that Urban Legend or I Know What You Did Last Summer are good movies, but beside that, you can't really go wrong for horror movies. Oh my gosh, this thing's going to kill me. I saw it coming. Well, we're going to get through this level. I know it. It's not too bad. Maybe now that we're done with that list, I can focus a little more. There we go. I did watch a really interesting movie last night called Scare Me. It's a Shudder exclusive, and it's about two people in a cabin during a power outage. Two strangers who just met that day in a power outage who end up spending time together because of the power outage in the same oh my god, in the same cabin. And it's about them telling scary stories to each other to pass the time. And as where it's not your traditional, just die. There we go. Your traditional like horror movie. It is really good. So pretty much as they tell the stories become more real to them. In the fact that they start like imagining the characters slightly and the noises and everything gets really creepy. And it was just a really well done movie. I really did enjoy it. In the end, the end twist isn't too crazy. It's kind of predictable slightly, but it was still good. The acting was good. The two people they got to play in the movie. If you've ever watched The Boys season 2, the new I can't remember what her name is in the Boys, but her first name's Aya. I remember that from the movie last night, but she does a great job. And then the other guy who wrote and directed the movie, who stars in it, was really good as doing the characters. He did. Oh, I didn't mean to get that. He does a bunch of he plays a bunch of, obviously because they're telling stories to each other, so they're trying to make it seem realistic. So they're doing voices and acting. He did a really good job with all the different characters he played in there, and it was a really funny horror comedy movie. I guess we can call it a horror comedy movie. Yeah, so if you get a chance, if you have Shudder and you get a chance, check that out, because that was pretty entertaining, and the acting was good, so that's always helpful in a movie. Let's see if I can get through at least this part today. Then we can call it a day. Yeah, so let's talk a little about Castlevania, Super Castlevania. Look at this. It's one of the, I mean, there's so many good games on the Super Nintendo, but it's one of those games. It's just, sorry, brute force. There we go. Yeah, it was just so fun because the game in the beginning, I know I'm making this look extremely hard, but if you sit down and just play this game with your undivided attention, the game is manageable compared to some of the other Castlevania games. I feel, yes, the game does get more difficult as you go, but the first half of the game here is pretty manageable without much effort of replaying levels, unless you're me right now, because I have died way too many times. Look at this, the force of the water pushing you back. Yeah, this was the last of the traditional, I guess we'll say. Ooh, spikes. Almost missed them. The traditional Castlevania games, because after this, it went into the whole idea of the Metroidvania. For Castlevania, the Castlevania series, it went into Symphony of the Night was the next big release, and then that changed the way Castlevanias were created and still are to this day. Well, there are no more Castlevanias, but the idea for a while, the Castlevania went through a great period of those Metroidvania games on the Game Boy Advance and beyond. I know the series and Konami. We always complain about Konami. Everyone always complains about Konami because of the decisions they make. But hey, look at this. Still have this, so. Got myself hit there, being stupid. Yeah, so to go back to the movies, if you could tell me your favorite horror movies in the comments, that would be great. I love to discuss it, or anything that you think that I should watch that I didn't mention here. And if I haven't watched it, I would love to watch it, because it's great to find out what other people's favorite horror movies are, because it kind of lets you know about the person in a way, I guess, because different things scare different people or entertain different people in that way. And it's really, look at all that water, that's going to hurt me. It's really interesting to find that out about people. Oof, mud men, or clay men, or rock men, whatever they are. I love how they break apart there into smaller and smaller and smaller. and the multi-directional whip. The only problem I have with the multi-directional whip in this game is the fact that with the multi-directional whip, sub-weapons like this don't really have the same effect. It kind of got rid of the idea of a sub-weapon for me because, well, I don't need to now throw that axe to hit that bat. I can just go, or sorry for the sound effects, or you're welcome for the sound effects, the awesome sound effects. But I do love the multi-directional whip because it makes committing to a jump less needed. It's like you don't have to... Oh, I missed that. Oh, and I fell all the way down, but that's okay. I think there's something over here anyway. Or this is the way I was supposed to go, and I was going to get something up there, like a life or some health, which I don't. Look at all those guys. Yeah, the multi-directional whip really changed it because I no longer have to jump to get most candles or to hit enemies that are on different planes, like a higher level or a lower level. I can just handle them from everywhere. What? Mistakes were made. Yeah, I think we're coming up on the end boss for this level, which is this really cool rock guy, right? Is this the one? We'll find out, won't we? Oh, no. I'm thinking of... Am I thinking of the one for the... Oh, that just stops him for a second. Am I thinking of the one for the Genesis Bloodlines? I think that one has that really cool rock monster. Alright, well, for Retro Lunch Breaks Halloween Spooktacular, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. If you have, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel. It helps us grow the channel, and... Oh my god. Yay, there's the timing. Yeah, so thank you all again. Have a good day. Bye.